Pyongyang, October 2025. The Democratic People's Republic of Korea stood as a monolith of control, its streets lined with portraits of the eternal Kim dynasty. Supreme Leader Kim Jong-Un, at 41, was the nation's God King, his image plastered on every wall, his name whispered in reverence and fear. But beneath the surface of this totalitarian fortress, cracks were forming. The famine of 2024 had left millions starving, their skeletal frames a stark contrast to the regime's propaganda of prosperity. International sanctions tightened, and whispers of dissent grew louder in the shadows. Kim's health was the regime's greatest secret. Plagued by obesity, diabetes, and heart disease, he relied on a team of foreign doctors to keep him alive. His paranoia, fueled by decades of propaganda and isolation, made him distrust even those closest to him. In this climate of suspicion, a new figure had entered his inner circle, Dr. Elias Cohen, a Swiss-trained cardiologist whose calm demeanor and medical expertise had earned Kim's grudging trust. But Cohen was no ordinary doctor. He was a Mossad agent, embedded to destabilize the regime from within. When Kim discovered the truth, the fallout would unleash a storm of betrayal, bloodshed, and an unlikely hero's sacrifice. Chapter 1. The Doctor's Deception. Dr. Elias Cohen moved through the Ryongsong residence, Kim Jong-un's private palace, with the precision of a man who knew every gesture was scrutinized. At 50, Cohen was lean, his gray eyes sharp behind wire-rimmed glasses, his Swiss accent flawless. He had arrived in Pyongyang in 2023, recommended by Chinese diplomats as a neutral expert in cardiology. His cover was ironclad: medical degrees from Geneva, a history of treating global elites, and a quiet professionalism that disarmed suspicion. In truth, Cohen was a Mossad operative, trained in espionage and sabotage, tasked with infiltrating North Korea's leadership to gather intelligence on its nuclear program and, if necessary, eliminate Kim Jong-un. Cohen's mission was delicate. Kim's health was deteriorating. His weight, rumored to exceed 320 pounds, strained his heart, and recent chest pains suggested a looming crisis. Cohen's role was to keep Kim alive long enough to extract critical data: the location of a new nuclear facility in the mountains of Gangwon province, rumored to house hypersonic warheads capable of evading Western defenses. Every night, Cohen used a concealed microchip in his medical bag to transmit encrypted reports to Tel Aviv, detailing Kim's condition, palace security, and overheard conversations about missile tests. On October 10, 2025, Cohen was summoned to Kim's private study. The Supreme Leader sat behind a mahogany desk, a bottle of French cognac at his side, his face flushed with exertion. "Dr. Cohen," Kim said, his voice thick with suspicion, "you claim my heart is weak, yet I feel invincible. Are you certain your treatments are effective?" Cohen's pulse quickened, but his face remained impassive. "Your Excellency, your condition requires careful management. The stents I placed last year are functioning, but stress and lifestyle factors must be controlled. I recommend continuing the beta blockers and reducing alcohol intake." Kim's eyes narrowed, his fingers drumming on the desk. "You Swiss are meticulous, perhaps too meticulous." He waved Cohen away, but as the doctor left, he noticed a shadow in the corridor, a State Security Department SSD officer, his gaze cold and unblinking. Chapter 2. The Orphan's Eyes. In a crumbling orphanage on the outskirts of Pyongyang, 10-year-old Malik Jones navigated a world of cruelty and survival. Malik was an anomaly in North Korea, a black child in a land of homogeneity. Born in Chicago to Sarah Jones, an American aid worker, and Daniel Mwangi, a Kenyan diplomat, Malik's life had been one of privilege until 2023. His mother's humanitarian mission to deliver food aid was deemed espionage by the regime, and Sarah was sentenced to a labor camp in the frozen north. Malik, only 8, was torn from her arms and placed in the orphanage, a propaganda stunt to showcase North Korea's mercy to the West. The orphanage was a prison of despair. Guards beat Malik for his foreign appearance, and the other children, conditioned by fear, shunned him. But Malik was resilient. He learned Korean in months, mimicking the guards' dialects to blend in. He memorized their routines, noting which doors were left unlocked, which fences had gaps. Hidden passages in the orphanage's walls became his refuge, where he scavenged for scraps and eavesdropped on whispered secrets. One night, Malik overheard 2 guards discussing a traitor in the palace, a foreign doctor suspected of betrayal. Driven by a child's curiosity and a desperate hope to save his mother, Malik began sneaking into the city, following cryptic clues, a dropped note, a whispered address. His search led him to the Ryungsong residence, where he saw Dr. Cohen slipping out to transmit a report. Malik, hiding in the bushes, felt a spark of hope. If this doctor was an enemy of the regime, he might be an ally. Chapter 3. The Net Tightens. The discovery of Cohen's true identity was a fluke, a rare crack in North Korea's surveillance state. Major General Kang Min-jae, the SSD's counterintelligence chief, was a hawkish loyalist obsessed with rooting out spies. At 47, Kang was ruthless. His loyalty to Kim bordered on fanaticism. Recent reports of North Korean operatives posing as IT workers abroad to fund the regime had heightened his paranoia. During a routine sweep of Cohen's apartment, Kang's team found a microchip hidden in a stethoscope, its signals traced to a server in Israel. A captured defector, tortured for weeks, confirmed rumors of a Mossad plot targeting Kim's inner circle. Kang presented his evidence to Kim in the dead of night. The Supreme Leader's face twisted with rage as he read the decrypted messages. "A Zionist spy? In my palace?" he roared, smashing a glass against the wall. "This doctor thinks he can poison me, destroy me." Kim's paranoia, fueled by anti-Semitic propaganda and years of isolation, painted Cohen as the mastermind of a global conspiracy. He ordered Kang to devise a plan, not just to eliminate Cohen, but to turn his betrayal into a spectacle that would reinforce Kim's divine invincibility. Kang proposed a multi-layered operation. Cohen would be arrested, tortured for information, and publicly executed as an assassin. The trial would be broadcast to the nation, showcasing Kim's triumph over foreign enemies. But Kang had a hidden agenda. He suspected other palace officials, rivals like General Park, the military logistics chief, might be compromised. Cohen's interrogation could be manipulated to implicate them, consolidating Kang's power. Chapter 4. The Boy's Warning. Malik, driven by instinct, decided to warn Cohen. Late on October 11th, he slipped through a drainage grate near the Ryungsong residence, emerging in a garden where Cohen was calibrating his microchip. "Doctor," Malik whispered, his small frame barely visible in the moonlight. "They know who you are. They're coming tonight." Cohen, startled, nearly dropped the device. His Mossad training kicked in, assessing the boy. "Who are you? How do you know this?" "I'm Malik," the boy said, his Korean accented but clear. "I heard the guards. They found your chip. They're going to kill you." Cohen's mind raced. A child was an unlikely ally, but Malik's desperation was genuine. "Why help me?" Cohen asked, his hand on a concealed knife. "Because you're fighting them," Malik said. "And I want my mom back. She's in a camp. If you're against them, you can help her." Cohen hesitated, then nodded. "Get out of here, kid. It's not safe." But as Malik turned to leave, floodlights blazed, and SSD troops swarmed the garden. Cohen shoved Malik behind a hedge, drawing a hidden pistol. "Run!" he hissed. Malik bolted. his small size making him a ghost in the chaos. Cohen fired at the soldiers, buying time, but a taser dart hit him, sending him convulsing to the ground. As he was dragged away, Cohen activated a dead man's switch on his microchip, ensuring his final report would transmit if he didn't check in within 24 hours. Chapter 5. The Interrogation. Cohen was taken to a detention center beneath the Ministry of State Security, a concrete labyrinth of screams and shadows. Kang oversaw the interrogation personally, his face a mask of cold fury. "You thought you could deceive the Supreme Leader," he snarled, delivering a backhand that split Cohen's lip. "Who are your contacts? What was your plan?" Cohen endured hours of torture, electric shocks, waterboarding, and beatings. His Mossad training held, allowing him to compartmentalize the pain. He fed Kang false leads, claiming he was a freelance operative hired by South Korea, not Israel. Kang, frustrated, escalated the brutality, unaware that Cohen was stalling to protect his mission. Meanwhile, Malik, driven by guilt and determination, resolved to help Cohen. He returned to the orphanage, only to find it crawling with SSD agents searching for him. Using the hidden passages, he escaped to the city, navigating alleys and sewers to reach the detention center. He found a ventilation shaft, its grate loose, and crawled through, the air thick with damp rot. Reaching the cell block, he whispered through a grate, "Dr. Cohen, it's me. I'm getting you out." Cohen, bloodied and chained, was stunned. "You're insane, kid. They'll kill you." "I don't care," Malik said. "You're my only chance to save my mom." Chapter 6. The Escape. Malik's plan was reckless but ingenious. He stole a guard's keycard, slipping it through the grate to Cohen. The doctor, weakened but resolute, unlocked his chains and followed Malik through the shaft. Alarms blared as they emerged in an alley, only to find SSD vans closing in. Cohen, his strength fading, handed Malik the microchip. "Get this to the Taedong River. Throw it in. It'll send a signal to my people." Malik nodded, clutching the chip. Cohen drew his pistol, firing at the approaching soldiers. "Go!" he shouted. Malik ran, bullets tearing through the night. Cohen took down 4 guards before a sniper's bullet pierced his chest, his body collapsing in the rain-soaked street. Malik reached the river, his shoulder bleeding from a graze. He threw the chip into the water, watching it sink. The device activated, transmitting Cohen's report, coordinates of the nuclear facility, Kim's medical records, and evidence of Russian missile technology transfers. But Malik's freedom was short-lived. SSD forces tracked him to the riverbank, capturing him after a brutal chase through the reeds. Chapter 7. The Palace of Wrath. Kang presented Malik to Kim as a co-conspirator, his small frame dwarfed by the palace's opulence. Kim, his paranoia at a fever pitch, saw enemies everywhere. "This child is a spy!" he roared, his voice echoing off marble walls. "He works with the Zionist! Torture him until he names his masters!" Malik was taken to a cell beneath the palace, where SSD interrogators used every tool to break him. Sleep deprivation, starvation, and threats against his mother pushed him to the edge, but Malik refused to crack. He invented stories, claiming he was just a lost orphan, his defiance fueled by memories of Sarah's courage. "You'll never win," he whispered to his tormentors, his voice weak but unyielding. Meanwhile, Cohen's dead man's switch worked. In Tel Aviv, Mossad received his final transmission and leaked it to global media. On October 15, 2025, as Kim prepared for a Chuseok address at the Kumsusan Palace, news networks broadcasted the truth: images of the nuclear facility, Kim's failing health, and intercepted Russian communications. The UN convened an emergency session, and China, wary of instability, issued a rare rebuke. Chapter 8. The Sister's Shadow. Kim Yo-jong, Kim's sister and a rising power in the regime, urged a brutal response. At 38, Yojong was cunning and ambitious, her loyalty to her brother matched only by her desire for control. She saw the leaks as a chance to tighten her grip, blaming General Park and other rivals for security failures. "We must show strength," she told Kim. "Execute the boy publicly. Let the world see our resolve." Kim agreed, ordering Malik's trial to be broadcast during Chuseok. The palace square was packed with loyalists, their faces a mix of fear and fervor. Malik, frail and bruised, was paraded before them, Kang reading a fabricated confession branding him a Western spy. As the executioner raised his rifle, Malik broke free, his small hands grabbing a ceremonial flag of the Workers' Party. He climbed a statue of Kim Il-sung, waving the flag defiantly. "The world knows!" he shouted in Korean, his voice carrying over the crowd. "You can't hide!" The crowd gasped, some whispering in awe. For a moment, the SSD hesitated, stunned by a child's courage. Then a shot rang out, and Malik fell, blood pooling on the marble. The crowd erupted, some weeping, others shouting in defiance. Kim, watching from a balcony, felt a chill. The boy's death was meant to silence dissent, but it had ignited a spark. Chapter 9. The Mother's Odyssey. In a labor camp near the Yalu River, Sarah Jones toiled in a coal mine, her body frail but her spirit unbroken. Rumors reached the camp of a black boy's defiance in Pyongyang, and Sarah knew it was Malik. She collapsed, her screams echoing through the tunnels. A fellow prisoner, Lee Min-soo, a former smuggler, vowed to help her escape. "Your son gave us hope," Lee said. "We'll honor him." Sarah and Lee planned a breakout, using smuggled tools to dig a tunnel under the camp's fence. They worked for weeks, hiding dirt in their ragged clothes. On a moonless night, they crawled through, pursued by guard dogs and gunfire. Lee drew the guards' attention, sacrificing himself to let Sarah reach the river. She crossed into China, collapsing in a safe house run by defectors. There, she learned of Malik's death and the global uproar over Cohen's leaks. Sarah vowed to tell her son's story, her grief fueling her resolve. Chapter 10. The Defectors' Network. In Pyongyang, the leaks had a ripple effect. A clandestine network of defectors, led by a former diplomat named Choi Eun-hee, used smuggled phones to spread Cohen's footage. Choi, 45, had once served in North Korea's embassy in Beijing, but defected after witnessing the regime's brutality. She operated from a safe house in the capital, coordinating with South Korean activists to amplify the leaks. Malik's defiance became a rallying cry, his image scrawled on walls in secret graffiti. Choi's network faced constant danger. SSD raids killed dozens of her allies, but she pressed on, inspired by Malik's courage. "He was a child," she told her team, "yet he did what we could not. We owe him this fight." Chapter 11. The General's Fall. Kang's plan to purge his rivals backfired. General Park, accused of negligence, rallied his loyalists in the military, sparking a power struggle within the regime. On October 20th, a skirmish erupted at a military base near Pyongyang, with Park's forces clashing with Kang's SSD units. The fighting killed dozens, and Kim, enraged by the chaos, ordered both men arrested. Kang was executed, his ambitions crushed, while Park was sent to a camp, his fate uncertain. Kim Yo-jong seized the opportunity, consolidating her influence. She urged Kim to double down on propaganda, portraying the leaks as Western lies. But the damage was done. Citizens, exposed to smuggled footage, whispered of rebellion. The regime's grip tightened, but its foundation trembled. Chapter 12. The World Watches. Sarah reached South Korea, where she spoke at a UN conference, her voice breaking as she described Malik's sacrifice. "My son was 10. she said, tears streaming. He stood against a tyrant when adults faltered. His name is Malik Jones, and he is North Korea's hope. The world responded. Sanctions tightened, and protests erupted in Seoul, Tokyo, and Washington. China, fearing instability, reduced aid to Pyongyang, forcing Kim to divert resources to quell dissent. Malik's story spread, his image a symbol of resistance in a land of oppression. Chapter 13. The Smoldering Flame. Kim Jong-un's regime survived, but it was wounded. The nuclear facility was abandoned under international pressure, and Kim's health continued to falter, his paranoia deepening. Yojong prepared for a potential succession, her ambition a new threat to the dynasty. Malik Jones became a legend, his name whispered in markets and camps. Choi's network grew, smuggling radios and pamphlets that told of the boy who defied a god. Sarah, now an activist, worked with defectors to expose North Korea's horrors, her grief a fuel for change. The tragedy of Malik and Cohen was that they never saw the impact of their actions. Cohen's mission exposed the regime's secrets, and Malik's courage lit a spark that would smolder for years. In the shadows of Pyongyang, the people waited, their whispers growing louder, their hope enduring.